arms work just as hard as our legs. Fire up your triceps.
Your hips are dipping, always the option to come down to the knee.
Not as a weakness, but as a sense of strength, something that's empowering.
Namaste.
Hi yogis, you might notice I'm in a chair for this video today. I asked for requests on the Patreon videos, so hopefully I'm giving you what you asked for. I had a lot of people, the majority of people requested shoulder and chest opening. A lot of you who requested that said either because you garden, so you're hunched over during the day, like weeding, planting, those kind of things, or you work in an office, you sit at a desk, you're on your computer a lot. The other one was driving, people who spend a lot of time in their car during the day. So I feel you on that one also because I'm commuting to Austin a lot and traffic is terrible now. So anything that's gonna open up this way is gonna help with all of the action that goes this way. And because lots of you said you're doing things like being in the car, at work, etc., things that you could do, just kind of one or two poses to counteract that rounding, as opposed to like having time to do the 15-minute short flow that I posted for heart opening. Because realistically, not all of us have the time to do that. And when you're in the moment there at your desk, or gardening, whatever, you don't have time to stop and do 15 minutes of yoga, and I can appreciate that. So I'm gonna throw 6 poses at you today that hopefully if you remember like 1 or 2 when you're out there in the garden. I don't suggest you do them while you're driving, unless maybe you're like parked in traffic. I don't wanna advocate stretching and driving. Or certainly while you're at work, and that's kind of why I put the chair here too. Even if you're just at home watching TV, stuff like that, taking a break and getting a little bit of movement in is nice. So first one I want to do is just a simple chest expansion. So you can do this at your office chair. You can do it while you're standing up in the garden or kneeling. If you're in a chair, you're just going to scoot forward a little bit. You'll interlace your hands behind you and then just roll your shoulders down and back. So depending on how you feel, you can take your knuckles further away from you. If you want to and you're comfortable, you can fold forward a little bit so that you can lift the hands up and get a little bit more stretch. If you are so tight through the front of your body, which some of us are, and you have like a little strap, if you're at the office you probably don't, but maybe you have like a sweater or something in your drawer, or just something around that you can hold on to. You could use a towel if you're at home, taking the strap or whatever it is in between your hands and just letting yourself have that little bit of lift. And again, you don't even have to fold forward, you could just hold onto the strap. Most important thing with this is think about opening here through the front side of your chest, rather than bending into your mid to low spine. So you're not just trying to like send your butt out behind you, you're really trying to roll the shoulders down and back so that you're stretching through your heart. So that's stretch number 1. Stretch number 2 that you can do at your desk in a seat or on your couch, whatever, is a cow face stretch. So you're taking one arm up and then kind of bending it at the elbow, giving yourself a pat on the back. You're gonna reach your other arm up behind you. Now you might notice my hands don't want to touch on this side quite yet. If I work at it and keep going, maybe I can grab my fingers. But again, you can hold on to your shirt, you can use that strap or that sweater or that towel and just stretching, bringing the elbows more and more vertically aligned. So we try not to be out to the side like this, but rather bringing the elbows into center, taking a few breaths and then switching. So switching that grip, doing the other arm for just as long as you did the first one. So those are 2 that you can do seated. Another seated one that's nice is just sitting straight forward in your chair, and then think about spinning from your chest and your upper back, doing a twist. So we're not trying to twist with our hips or move our legs at all, keeping the legs facing straight forward. You can just do hands to the outer thigh to start. So you're just stretching. If your neck feels okay with it, maybe looking over the shoulder. If you want to, maybe using your chair, if it has an arm on it, especially helpful, but using your chair to kind of deepen that stretch. And then again, just repeating it on the other side. So finding more space through the chest and shoulders. Another thing you can do in your chair or standing up is a little seated camel variation. So typically we do camel on our knees in yoga. We put our hands on our sacrum and then we lift up through the chest. You can do that too. When I'm seated, it feels better for me if I take my hands a little higher than I typically would in camel. So I'm kind of grabbing at my low rib cage here, and then I'm just like opening my rib cage a little bit higher. So it removes that tendency to kind of want to take your butt back, especially if you are doing it while you're in a seat. Just grabbing the low ribs and just kind of lifting them up a little bit. And just the nature of touching your low ribs is going to force your shoulders to roll down and back so that you have a little bit more space in your chest. It's almost impossible to round forward if you're putting your hands right there. So that's another seated one we can do. And then from here, there's one we can do standing that I'll show you. So you'll start to stand up, probably not gonna have cords attached to you. Find your way to a wall. With the wall, so you could do this, you know, in your break room or outside if you have something to put your arm against. Two options. So the more intense option is gonna be bending at the elbow. So your elbow will be in line with your shoulder, and you just kind of melt your chest towards the wall. As you start to deepen, maybe you get a little bit more rotation, so you start facing a little bit away from the wall. Since this is the more intense variation with the elbow bent, you might not go so far. You can also take a little bit less intense variation with the arm out straight. So putting the arm straight in line with the elbow, and then again, as you deepen, you kind of twist. So your chest faces more and more towards the space away from the wall. And then when you're ready, just coming out of it. So whichever variation you do, doing both variations on each arm, or just one variation. Again, the bent elbow, so like the scarecrow arm, it's a little bit more intense of a stretch, so taking it slower, maybe not going so far. The straight arm, a little bit less intense, so you can get a little bit more stretch through the inner shoulder. Final thing we can do, this is really helpful if you have a chair or maybe your desk or the back of your couch, something like that, is down dog or puppy pose using a chair or a bed or something like that. So you'll take your hands to the edge of it, and then you'll just start to drop your chest down. So the more you start to drop your chest, I just got a nice little pop through my upper back. The more you start to drop your chest, you can relax your head and neck if you want to, the more you're really gonna stretch through the upper shoulders, the back. And this one, honestly, out of all of those, probably feels the best. I realize if you're at work, maybe it's not the most like work friendly unless you have more private office. But it does feel really, really, really good. So if you're at home, if you're somewhere where you're comfortable doing that down dog or that puppy pose on the back of a chair, or just anything else that's about, you know, waist high, hip high, you can use that utilization to open up more space in the chest. So those were all 6 of the stretches. Again, if you can remember 2, 3 of those while you're, you know, feeling like, oh my gosh, I notice I'm slouching so much right now. Just take that moment, notice you're slouching, and choose to do 1 or 2 of those stretches. Release that tension through your upper back. I always tell people consistency is the key. So the more consistently you can catch yourself doing that and just take 30, 60 seconds to just undo it, unwind it, go the opposite way, you're gonna have less back pain, less chest pain, less shoulder pain in the long run, as opposed to just doing one 1-hour yoga class once a week or once a month. So keep that in mind. Try to memorize 1 or 2 of your favorites. I'm also gonna do this for hip and low back stretches too. So that's gonna be my other Patreon video for this month. So keep an eye out for that if you haven't checked it out already. And thanks for playing. See you next time. Have a great day.